This, thank God, is not me. This is my little brother, JJ. And growing up looking like that is not easy, but life is good. That's me on the top bunk and JJ on the bottom bunk. We're the youngest of 6 kids, and we grew up just outside of Boston. And our dad worked in a machine shop, mom raised the kids. And I understand, you know, like there's all these photographs of our older brothers and sisters. This is like one of 3 photographs of our childhood. So I understand, you get it. You know, they didn't have enough money, they lost the camera, whatever. But I'd like to have kids, and when I have kids, I'm not gonna pamper them, but I am gonna put some fucking sheets on the bed. This is our mom, Joan. Joan was the first powerful optimist in our lives. Almost the entire time growing up, our dad, who wasn't a bad guy, was depressed by any definition. And our mother was there to keep the family together. She stayed by my father's side, and she showed us that although we didn't have the money to travel to Disneyland, we could go anywhere in our mind. She unlocked our imagination. When she told us bedtime stories, she didn't just tell us the stories, she acted out the characters. But maybe the most powerful thing our mother did for us was a little ritual at the dinner table. She looked around to her 6 kids, no matter what was happening, and she said, "Tell me something good that happened today." Very simple prompt. Tell me something good that happened today. It's a nice one to use in your company to start your meetings or at your own family's dinner table. Because what happens is you change the energy. She showed us that our disposition is powerful, and she changed the energy in the house. The media inundates our culture with negative information, always reinforcing what's wrong with the world and rarely telling us what's right with the world. And you know, we all have a choice every day. You can focus on what's wrong with your life, or you can focus on what's right with your life. And wherever you put your energy, wherever you focus and whatever you focus on, that will grow. That was something our mom taught us at the dinner table. Optimists roam the world seeing opportunities. They don't ignore obstacles, but they overcome obstacles by focusing on the opportunities. When you're an optimist, you're more innovative. You're more innovative because you're open-minded. You're not afraid to experiment. You're not afraid to explore the world. The ones who embraced the idea that life is good the most were the ones who were facing the most adversity. This is a photograph of a little girl named Lindsay Beggett, 11 years old, and she was diagnosed with terminal bone cancer. And the journalist said, "Do you understand your prognosis?" And she said, "Yes, they don't think I'm gonna live longer than a year." And he said, "Do you mind if I ask why you're wearing a hat that says life is good?" Because before I was sick, I took my life for granted, but now I wanna make sure every day counts. Lindsay Beggett was 11 years old, 17 years ago, and told she was gonna live 1 year. I'm gonna play you a short video because Lindsay didn't pass away.
Hi, my name is Lindsay. I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a bone cancer, when I was 10 years old. I was going through chemotherapy and lost all of my hair, so a bunch of our family friends donated hats to me. The one that stuck out to me the most was this Life is Good hat, and I keep it as a reminder. It reminded me to be positive and happy and excited, even though I was going through something that was a little bit difficult.
What Lindsay showed us is that her optimism enabled her to access courage. So it was the beginning. When we started, we thought, well, there's pessimism, there's realism, and there's optimism. We're on this team, okay? Pessimism is corrosive. Realism lacks imagination. Optimism, on the other hand, is boundless. People have a misconception that wealth and material goods will make you happy, but statistics show that they don't. Some people think that that special place in life, being in that special place, if it's off at the beach or up in the mountains, or if you get that promotion, or if you meet that special person, then you're going to be happy, then you're going to be fulfilled. It's not true. The only thing that will enable a happy and fulfilling life is your disposition. We didn't invent life is good, but we were the first ones to trademark it. Some guy said that to me recently. He said, "You know, I don't think it's fair." I said, "What's not fair?" He goes, "Well, you didn't create life is good. My grandfather used to say life is good." And I said, tell your grandfather you should have trademarked it. And then he was British. The guy was British, so I said, and if I'm not mistaken, the British invented trademarks, so whatever, dude. Yeah, and so Johnny and I shared a lot. We grew up in being sports crazy in the Larry Bird era, when it was Magic Johnson with the Lakers versus Larry Bird. That was our sweet youth. So we were sports junkies and hoop heads, and we learned a lot from those guys, two greats, you know. And so when we got out of college, we did a road trip across the country, and we were trying to decide what to do with our lives. We both had thought about going to art school, and then we got sort of turned off by going to visit art schools. And we felt as though, I don't know, it was all about being nonconformist, which is sort of what we wanted. But when we went there, we thought everybody looked the same. Everybody was wearing black leather and face jewelry, and you know what I mean? And so we thought we would miss out on the real college experience, you know? And so we both went for more of that real college experience. And when we graduated, we just didn't want to go get a job. We wanted to try to do something with artwork. We'd been drawing our whole lives, and we wanted to try to make a career. We were intimidated by the world of fine art and didn't know where to start with all that and art galleries. And so we decided that we would start making T-shirts and just designing them. And we first just sold them in the street in Boston. And then after about a year, we bought a used van, and we called it the Enterprise. That was another childhood thing. We were Star Trek fans, and we told each other we would boldly go where no T-shirt guys gone before. And we started.
And maybe you have.
Maybe, yeah. We're still on that journey, but we started traveling in the van, and you know, our next distribution move was to sell door to door in college dorms. So we traveled actually for 5.5 years in that van, and we slept in the van every night. And we went up and down the East Coast. And people always say when they see the old photos, you know, life must have sucked back in those days. Now life is good, right? And it didn't. It really didn't. They missed the point. Life didn't suck in those days because we were sleeping in a van. Life was good because we had an opportunity to start a business. And that was really our attitude. And we got to visit a lot of college campuses, you know, colleges and universities that we didn't get into. And so it really wasn't that bad. We would hang out on campus, throw the football around, throw a Frisbee, meet some people. And then at night, we'd work our tails off, and we'd run around the dorms and do the best we could. And yeah, that was life for the first 5.5 years of business.
That's awesome. It takes guts to do that. And also, I just truly appreciate the story of grit and hustle and just raw entrepreneurship. And now you're a $150 million global lifestyle brand. To have those humble beginnings, it's quite remarkable. Now, eventually,
honestly, I think part of what fueled us, while I'd love to just agree and say, yeah, it was so courageous, we were afraid of getting a job. We were afraid of going and getting our friends were starting to kind of wear suits and ties and get a company car and all those things that seemed like the thing to do. And we were honestly terrified of that. And so I think being afraid, we kept trying, you know, we kept just trying to make it work. Yeah, you stay at something long enough, something clicks.
Now, eventually, after roughly 5 or 5.5 years in business, it seems as if you struck gold with Jake, the face of Life is Good as we know it today. Yeah. It's become this iconic symbol for your brand. Can you tell us about Jake's origin story?
Sure. I think we weren't sure in the beginning what was more powerful, Jake or the words Life is Good, because the first T-shirts we sold had both. Over time, we've come to realize that Jake is the hero whose powers is optimism, but life is good. Those 3 simple words, that's the most powerful thing. And Jake was a drawing by my brother. You can see if you're looking at it there, it's drawn with magic markers and colored pencils while we were driving in the van. And if you look, there's white out where Life is Good is, because it first didn't say Life is Good. It said draw. And the idea was that Jake's an artist. That's why he has a beret. And he was meant to be, the opposite of the dark, tortured soul artist. We felt as though we're happy people, we're mainstream people, but we're artists. And so it was kind of self-reflective, and we wanted to make this character that was having fun, being creative. And but what happened was, in those days, towards the end of the 5.5 years, we took jobs as substitute teachers back in Boston. And because the t-shirt sales just weren't good enough. We didn't have Life is Good yet. And we had a ritual of our own where we'd go on the road for 6 weeks at a time, traveling in the van. And then we'd come back to Boston, and we'd throw a keg party, and we'd have all of our friends come over, and we'd tell some stories about what happened while we were on the road. But we had a business objective too. It was to try to put our latest artwork on the walls and have our friends, kind of be a focus group and tell us which t-shirt to make next, because we only made one t-shirt at a time. It was brilliant inventory management. And we would fill the van with those t-shirts and sleep on the t-shirts. And so it was a big deal which one. So we'd test it out in Boston. And this girl that came to the party, a friend of ours, she drew an arrow to Jake, and she said, "This guy's got life figured out." And in the morning when we saw that, it was probably about noon, and we woke up and we looked at it, and we thought, wow, what if Jake isn't just an artist? What if he's an optimist whose power is his optimism, a hero whose power is his optimism? And so we changed it to those 3 simple words, life is good. What she wrote was too many words for a t-shirt. So we kind of distilled it into the 3 words. And 2 days later, there's nothing different right here so far, because we had an idea like this every couple of weeks, something that we thought was the greatest. And then we go out in the street and it wouldn't sell, right? The different thing that happened was two days later, we sold 48 Life is Good t-shirts in 45 minutes. And we knew right away, they were people from different walks of life, and they all bought that same t-shirt. So, it was one of the lessons we had learned selling in the dorms all those years. You could say, well, we were just failing and failing and failing. It's true, but we learned a lot. And one of the things we learned is we wanted something for women and men, for older people and for younger people. And we wanted more of a psychographic than a demographic. And that's what we got with Life is Good. We say, okay, this is for anyone who understands that it's powerful to see the glass half full, that it's healthy to see the glass half full, that it's more attractive, all of those things. And so, yeah, all of a sudden we had something that we thought we could make into a brand.
That's awesome. I mean, first of all, who knew that keg parties could be great business strategy meetings? I think I'm going to take this insight back to my team here and see if we can make some changes.
It worked for us. We lured them in with the beer, but they came with, and they really did help us. Our friends helped us a lot.
That's awesome. I mean, it's really remarkable to hear kind of where the best ideas and creativity and entrepreneurship can really spark from. Sometimes they're the most unexpected places. So you started kind of just selling within kind of still streets of Harvard Square. And how did the business grow from there? And kind of how did your kind of outlook on optimism grow from there alongside that?
Yeah, so good question. So like when I say we knew we had it, we did. Like the people say, when did you know? We knew that first day in the street. I mean, it would take us 2 weeks to sell 48 t-shirts, and now we just sold in less than an hour. So we knew we had some like lightning in a bottle thing, but we had no idea what to do with it. We didn't have any sales reps. We didn't have any connection with retailers, nothing. So we got in the van and we drove down to Cape Cod, and we went for a swim in the ocean. We tried to figure out what to do. And we came up with the idea that we would drive around to all the t-shirt shops and see if we could wholesale this idea. And it didn't work. I mean, everybody thought we stole the shirts because we just looked like we stole the shirts. We were soaking wet. And then finally, this one woman who had a shop that mostly sold flip-flops, she didn't listen to, I don't think, to anything we said. She just looked at the t-shirt and she was like, yes. She's like, I'll take 24. And that was our first customer, a woman named Nancy.
Love it.
And so we shipped her 24 shirts. A week later, she called. This was pre-cell phones. And she called our apartment. And I picked up the phone and she said, hey, it's Nancy from the Cape. Guess what? We sold all 24 shirts. We want to get more. I said, that's fantastic. She said, listen, before you do that, remember our shop is next to an ice cream shop. And we're wondering if that character Jake eats ice cream. And we said, no, but he will. And, the great thing about an imaginary character is they can do anything. And so we made a t-shirt with Jake eating an ice cream and it said, life is good. And that sold better than the first one. And then people started asking, does he ride a bicycle? Does he work in the garden? Does he play guitar? Does he climb mountains? And the answer is yes, yes, yes. And the fictitious character does all these things. So the business just started growing this one really simple concept. And we were making every operational mistake you could make. We were shipping the t-shirts out of our kitchen. And we didn't have our own label. We were shipping on Fruit of the Loom t-shirts or Hanes or whatever was on sale, but they were selling. And the message back to us was that our culture is starving for optimism, and that the 6 o'clock news is not the 6 o'clock news. It's the 6 o'clock violent murder report. And these things are damaging. And still to this day, we're in, the tail end of 2021. The media, by and large, mass media, does not give you a balanced reflection. It preys on your fears. And there's a reason for that. We're wired to be drawn to our fears, so it sells. So actually, there was a lot of people in the beginning who told us, yeah, good news doesn't sell. Like, nice try, dude, but this is not going to work. And it was working. And I think it was working, and it is working today because more and more people recognize that it's healthy to focus on what's good in the world. And there's lots of good things happening in the world, and there's lots of things to celebrate. And, there's a lot of companies today that are focused on positive things, but we were really alone. It was 89 when we started making t-shirts. It's 1994 when we made the first Life is Good shirts, and that there was no positive lifestyle. Thankfully, there's lots of them now, and it's great. It's great for humanity that there are. And I think businesses are recognizing how powerful and how important it is for people to have that quality of a disposition where they see positive things.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, you and your brother really paved the way, whether it's intentional or not. That's just, now looking back at it, that's what it looks like. And now, of course, kind of your publicly stated mission for the business is to spread the power of optimism. So you clearly take this very, very seriously. Can you tell us why this is important to you now as a business owner?
Sure.
And also, kind of as a quick follow-up, practically speaking, how does this manifest in the operations of your business day to day? What does this look like within the walls of Life is Good?
Yeah, so let me start by saying, we didn't know most of what we know about optimism at all when we started. We had these lessons from our mom. We considered ourselves optimists, but we really hadn't thought the whole thing through. And by starting Life is Good, it put us in touch with other people and their theories and their practices. And so through the years, we had the benefit of millions of customers that write us and send us photos and letters. And a lot of those people were not experiencing easy times. We started right away receiving letters from people going through chemotherapy, people who, didn't have an injury like me, but lost a limb, people who got in car accidents and lost a child, like the most unthinkable things. And somehow they were writing us letters. And we came to realize, for example, that gratitude is like a superpower. And when people go through adversity, if they're able to make it through, they come out the other side with a heightened appreciation for life. And that's really powerful. And the access to gratitude is tripled by being an optimist. So your ability to access gratitude is much more likely if you wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to focus on what's good in my life rather than my weaknesses. I mean, Fizz, you have weaknesses and you have strengths. I have weaknesses and I have strengths. A practicing optimist wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to acknowledge my weaknesses, but I'm going to put most of my resources into my strengths. And that's what our customers taught us. So when that started happening, we started making t-shirts about gratitude. When people wrote us letters we thought were courageous, we started making t-shirts about courage. You know, we did plays on the Grateful Dead that instead of saying Grateful Dead, it says Grateful Dude, right? Very, very simple. All simplicity. Okay, we have a lot of t-shirts about keeping it simple, the simplicity being a superpower. That was taught to us. People sent us, hey, the world's becoming so complex. The way I practice my optimism is I focus on the simple things in my life. And we heard that so many times. We said, start putting those words, keep it simple, on a t-shirt. And they built our business with us. So, as business leaders and business owners, if you're watching this, if you think you're going to build your business on your own in the digital age, in the 21st century, you're out to lunch. It's not going to happen. We didn't build this business. We didn't pave this way of positive lifestyle. Our community, our customer base, co-authored the whole story with us. They really, all the good ideas came from them. And so that's been super powerful to us and super humbling, because our business has grown and grown and grown through the years. But really, all we have to do is listen. That's, I think, the key these days. Don't think you have all the answers. Listen to your staff. Great answers and solutions come from our staff these days. We recruit and interview based on levels of optimism. So you ask about the culture at Life is Good. It's really central in all aspects in everything we do. When we're hiring, somebody can have great skills in IT or marketing or whatever, but if we get the sense that they're not a practicing optimist, and believe me, we've become enamored with smart people and made the mistake, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit in with the culture. And we reward it. We reward the people who focus on the opportunities when things are difficult in adverse conditions. And we've been through a lot. We've been through 9/11, through the Boston Marathon bombings in our backyard. We've been through the Great Recession. And now, we're still faced with the pandemic. But 2 years ago, we were almost going bankrupt, like so many businesses, because 50% of our revenue was driven through wholesale. And by law, for the first time in certainly our history, everybody had to close their doors. So we were this close to going bankrupt. But because we got a house full of rational optimists who are focused on opportunities and solutions, we made changes and we're thriving today.